is an organization in Grand Rapids that helps partner with people with physical or cognitive disabilities and helps get equipment or other things that they need to engage in occupational performance. And OT works here. You may have the opportunity to do a field work here as well if you're local. So she teamed up with them. This is a picture of Adeline Van Cole, who works at Disability.
Oh, I went to school with her.
Really?
Yeah.
That is her, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Adeline is who
that's
they
Adeline.
work with.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's Roger Summers. So the two of them plus a glass of wine led to a grand idea. I thought you would find that funny since you did.
Yes.
So she started this in the hybrid program where she partnered with this organization. This goes along with those chapters that you read for this week with the direct action organization, which is way bigger than what we're going to do for the assignment. But she teamed up with them, and the students were partnered with a person in the community with a disability who were being served by DAC, Disability Advocates of Kent County. And they did what is outlined here. They found out what the issues were, made a strategy chart, and they worked on this throughout the summer. And she did this for 3 different years. So that very first year, the students helped the community members do some of these tactics that are mentioned, like petitioning and lobbying. And they were able to expand public transportation and accessible transportation into the outskirts of Grand Rapids. So if you can imagine, many of these community members use wheelchairs, and there wasn't an adequate amount of accessible buses in Grand Rapids, nor did the lines of the buses go to all the places that the community members needed. So through their actions, they had change occur, which was pretty powerful. And then in the fall, I don't know what the ABLE Act is, but they were able to expand the access of that, and then also keep moving along with the public and accessible transportation of Grand Rapids Township, so the traditional group. Then the hybrid group, 2 summers ago, changed policy for local PCA. I assume that means patient care assistant. That's how I know that word. Agency for self-determination and agency assistance. And they wrote letters and made calls. Does anyone know what an ADA assessment is?
Yes.
Tell us.
Anything with physical barriers, the environment, like accessibility in bathrooms, that kind of stuff.
What does ADA stand for?
American Disabilities
Act.
Okay, good. So you may even have an assignment on this later in the program where you go to an agency in your community, an organization, and do an ADA assessment. So they did an ADA assessment for MOCA, which stands for Muskegon, Ottawa, Kent, and Allegan. Those are local counties here who generally serve people with developmental disabilities. And they made recommendations for how to build their facilities and make them more accessible. Advocated for awareness of sensory processing. I'm telling you this so you have some ideas of what you could do. They asked to be on an agenda for Grand Rapids City Council meeting for a visitability ordinance. It was mostly a letter writing campaign. And then it stopped. So last summer was the last time they did this, and then realized that partnering with this organization, as powerful and wonderful as it was, it just wasn't working well for individual students to be able to pair up with them. And so the curriculum at Grand Valley, we decided to do this more like smaller groups and individual, especially for hybrids, to do this in their own communities, which I know is hard because you might be in a group where you're all in different communities. So everybody's project may look a little bit different, and that's okay. They piloted that last fall, the assignment the way that you're doing it as well, and so you're the first hybrid group to go in this scaled back version. That being said, I feel like I have a lot of grace towards you all as a hybrid cohort for being the first hybrid cohort to do this assignment. So if things fall apart, we'll roll with it, okay? That makes you feel a little better. I mean, the whole point is to be able to try this process out. Okay, so let me bring up these. So, if you read through the chapters for this week, if you haven't yet, print them while you're here in the computer lab. If you'd like to have a paper copy, because I think it's really helpful and it details out like some of the prompts to help you be able to fill out the strategy chart. And it's pulled right directly from the briefings. It's the Midwest Academy strategy chart. I wanted to just, I'm not going to provide this example to you, but this is an example from the traditional students and just to show you kind of what their write-up looked like. So this group worked with the Mental Health Foundation of West Michigan. And they wanted to demonstrate the need for a Be Nice, which is part of their campaign, to get that organization at Grand Valley. It helps expand mental health awareness and services. So they didn't know what their advocacy activity was going to be until the very end. But when you turn in the assignment, it's nice to kind of showcase that at the very beginning of what you're going to turn in. So this is their graded turned-in project. This is how they wrote it, and this was a good example. They wrote that the purpose was to change the stigma and societal perspective about mental illness and to have an action plan that all Grand Valley students can follow to save lives and decrease the rates of crisis and suicide among college students. And then they go through the process. This is where everyone's going to look really different. It doesn't matter how you format it. They wrote it in narrative here. You could do bullet points. You could make a table. You'll have to kind of see what you think. So they talked about how they decided to partner with this foundation, some different organizations that were stakeholders. They listed that. They initially met with the coordinator to share their ideas. One of the group members had gone to a mental health first aid training class in the summer, and that's how she met the person from this organization, so that's where the contact came. That part isn't listed here, but I know that because I was her instructor last year. So you might be thinking, what, did she just decide this for the partner? No, she had learned about this previously. So you want to know somebody who might need accessibility or to expand awareness or whatever it might be that you're going to help them with. They detail out their accomplishments, areas of improvement, future implications. And then here's another thing you're going to do. So when you meet, you're going to put the date. It was an email and a phone call. And they have a bullet point list of everything that happened that day. Okay. Which was quite a lot for an email and a phone call. Meeting 2. So that happened like a week later. Then they actually had an in-person meeting. That's not required as part of this assignment for you as hybrid students. Okay, but that's part of what they did. They had been discussing what they wanted to do for this project. It was at that meeting they decided to make a video, discuss the details, how it was going to be disseminated at Grand Valley and on Mental Health Foundation's website. They made an outline of what the video would include. Then they filled out their strategy chart. Or, I mean, you do that ahead of time, but this is where it came on the curriculum assignment. So your long-term goals, intermediate goals, organizational considerations, allies and opponents. It follows exactly the structure of what's in your assignment description and what these readings go for. Okay. primary target, secondary target. These are the people who have the ability to make changes, the decision maker, as they call it in the readings, and then what their tactics were, or like the actual actions that they took to do this project. So you'll see, it's basically a page long, their strategy chart. Yours might be longer, probably won't be shorter. They had another meeting, fourth meeting, then I won't show you the reflection, but at the end of the paper, everybody needs to answer the individual reflection questions that are listed on the assignment description, so it all goes in one document for me to see. So your peers are going to read your reflection. You all put it in there as you answer those questions. So this document is 10 pages long, and looking through some of the other ones that were turned in the fall, most are that length or shorter, just to give you a general idea of length. Again, there's a lot of bullet points, so that's part of why it's this long. So don't worry about length, but I just want to give you an idea of that. So I gave you examples too of what other people did, helping somebody who's transgender get their name changed, helping a resident at a skilled nursing facility write a letter to his social worker to get the VA to pay for a denture or a dental exam and a vision exam. It's so varied what you could do. But keep in mind, your occupational therapy students, you're trying to find somebody or an organization who has a need that will somehow facilitate occupational engagement, and you are helping them to advocate for themselves, helping them produce a video that can show awareness, helping them write a letter to their social worker to get access. So you may be doing some of the components, but at the end of the day, the individual or the organization should be the one doing it with your direction and guidance, with your assistance as needed. Okay. So I want to answer your question. I see your brows are still furrowed, so I haven't answered it.
My only thought is like, I've given like examples of like ways that we can assist in like advocating, but like what if they aren't identifying a certain need, but they're willing to work with me, but they're just not like identifying something themselves that they need. Like how do I facilitate them to pick something?
So have you presented them with some ideas that
I
you might
did.
be?
I gave them multiple examples that weren't relevant to her, and then multiple examples that could be relevant to her in her situation.
Okay. But she's saying she doesn't need those things.
No, she just didn't give me. She didn't say no to those, but she didn't give me something specific. So I'm trying to not be too pushy, but get something.
I guess I feel like, again, I have a lot more grace for hybrid students because you have extra challenges. So if you feel like there's something that she would be willing to do, like with the letter writing campaign, or some way that you could help her advocate for something that she could benefit from, I'm willing to accept that. But it's hard to get somebody invested in taking action if they don't think that they need it. If you think
I
they
think
need
she
it,
probably has a lot of needs. She just don't even know where to start. It doesn't understand what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's maybe at some point, if you're okay, I can kind of just like explain her situation, and you can tell me what. Because it's hard for me to know what available things I could help with.
Right.
And I'm just learning.
Right, exactly. Okay, yeah, why don't you shoot me an email or on a break or something, we can talk. I saw you nodding your head, you're feeling the same way?
Yep.
Okay.
Can we just talk really quick about who's in groups and who's not?
Yeah, I don't know who's in groups or who's not. Should I put a
Can you
Google
raise,
Doc up?
or just raise your hand if you're in a group and you're done?
I don't remember.
If we're in a group or no?
Are we together?
If you're in a group
Okay.
or you have somebody in a group?
I guess I'm in the group.
Okay, so.
Jamie doesn't know in her group.
Jamie, well, I think the three of us were in a group. You don't have, everybody else over there all is in a group, right?
Doesn't have a
Yeah, who does not?
Doesn't have a group.
Does not have a group.
Do we only have two,
Everybody
Julia?
for this one.
Okay, so then Jamie needs to be.
Taylor,
on-
are you gonna be?
I don't think I
She's
have
not
a
here,
group, and I don't know.
Josh is right here.
I'm so confused. Yeah.
Josh is right here, she doesn't have.
I said, I don't know if I have a group for this.
Or like you, Jamie, and Avia could be a group.
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you text Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no one is.
So we just have two?
Are we sure that she's
Okay.
not already in a group?
Yeah, she messaged like who's in my group, and we're all like nobody.
So Jamie, Tasha, and Nadia.
We'll be in a group.
Okay, all right, very good.
Cool.
Should we have more than two?
Some two, some
Oh,
two.
you're better just to have two.
I need you
Great.
to be,
So we can work
I think I need
Guess.
to have 7 or 8 groups at the very end for presentations for time wise.
6
So no
groups
more
of
than
3, and then I think it was 2 groups of 2.
It's a two.
I'm cool.
I don't know, honey, we did this last time and then we forgot.
Yeah.
We didn't have class time to do it.
Oh, then Jamie must be in our group.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
So me and you?
Wait.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all right.
We figured it out.
Most people figure it out.
It's important to have.
Jamie's gonna be with Julia and Josh.
Okay.
I support it, we know.
Will you let her
It's
know?
helpful.
Thank you. I didn't know what group I was in either, so
Okay.
we're good. We got it figured out.
Would it be helpful for this next, I mean, I'll still answer questions if you have some before we break up, but I was gonna give you at least 30 minutes to talk to your group, and I could bounce around and answer questions individually. I'm seeing some head nods over here. Kirsten has a really good range of motion for a yes. So, yeah, why don't we do that? So let's regroup at 3, but take this time right now to talk to your group. You may be in any stage of this. Maybe you've already identified someone, maybe you have no clue what you're gonna do. All of that is fine.
So I'm hearing groups, but we're doing it separately?
You're doing it as a group.
Where did I get stuck?
In our experience, it was not with our organization, like we would ask them questions and maybe it was just our person who didn't know how to answer, we would ask questions and we got very, I just didn't find it that helpful. And it was very specific to a location and organization, not necessarily a person.
Sure, sure. I'm just trying to even think if these readings had an idea for that, but of course it was more of a grand scale, which you're not doing generally for that. I feel like in my brain I don't have something for you right now, but I will make a note and look into that and have something to follow up with you on.
I mean, I'm not, like we said, we would come up with our questions, which is great. I just wanna make sure,
Right.
if you're reading assignments, that I am not 10 steps ahead going, well, if my needs assessment would have been more thorough, I just don't know what everything I'm getting, know what's getting in there.
Right, exactly. I feel like that's a valid question. I also appreciate you bearing with me because I haven't taught this class before, and so there may be some missing pieces on my end too. And I'm willing to admit that and try to do better and get you some other resources, so thank you. Thank you.
No.
Appreciate you. That's part of why the grace is available. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions, concerns about the advocacy assignment?
Not until we dive into it, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage you to do, especially since you're working with partners, is probably make a Google Doc. Your life is Google Docs.
Thank God for Google Doc.
But
Yeah.
it would be good to like detail out your meeting.
Imagine this program for
This could be considered a meeting where you met with your group members to brainstorm and got the seal of approval from Professor Macknick about this idea. You know, some of you have already met with your person. That's completely fine, no problem. Go backwards and write a little, bullet point list of what happened and what date that occurred. Was it a phone call? Was it an in-person meeting? So from now on, you are going to be documenting any of those contacts that occur or planning sessions that you have with your group. You want to fill out that strategy chart. So that's something to do sooner rather than later, so that you're considering all the pieces of this. You want to be helping a person or an organization advocate for something with a decision maker, someone or something that has the power to grant the person what they're asking for, okay? If you're doing an educational video, a few of you are, it's slightly different because you're not necessarily making a video pleading to somebody to give you something. You're doing more of an awareness educational thing. But you still have an audience of who you're trying to disseminate this to. Okay? That helps.
Are you able to post the example that you showed us earlier?
I am not going to post
Okay.
that. I don't have permission from them to do so, but I wanted you just to see the format today of one particular example, just so you weren't completely in the dark. I appreciate the question. I will be asking you, some of you, if I can show your example in the future, but they weren't my students. I didn't teach this class with them. So the next thing that I wanted to move into is the learning activity from week 5, which I didn't have you do because I wanted you to have time to work on your Weebly that week. So this is something to do in groups. I realized that the attachment that I had was, I had made a revision, but I must have posted the old version from last year. So it had something in it about state organizations. That's something you're doing a few weeks from now. So I just deleted that and I put the community-based activity here. So you're going to get in groups of 2 or 3. It could be with your advocacy assignment people if you just want to stay in the same groups, or work with somebody else, it doesn't matter. To complete a community map of a community in which one of you live. Read about it. So you might be targeting an actual student, a religious organization, on and on. Here are some examples. Review your community map and answer these questions adapted from questions in chapter 31. So who is this group of people and what constitutes occupational engagement for them? So again, this is from your population and community-based week. What is missing from the range and type of occupations that this community characteristically engages in? What are the barriers to engaging in this expanded range of occupations? And name at least one solution to address this barrier. So you're kind of working together in groups to apply some of that information to a community of people, particularly thinking about what occupations they engage in, what are the barriers, and how might you address that as an occupational therapist. You're just going to put together a Word document and submit it in here below. If that feels okay. Just to kind of work together on some of the material. Everybody's like, yeah, break up in groups. Thank you for doing that learning activity. We could spend the next half an hour debriefing and having everyone present, or not. Not. Or not. I'm okay with not. She knows what we're gonna say. You know, part of, like, this was designed to be something that you could do online, coordinating with a group and then turn it in. But I feel like sometimes what's lost in the hybrid program is the ability to just work together on some assignments. So that's what I really wanted, is for you to discuss and work together rather than everybody divide and conquer on a Google Doc. So, you know, I'll just probably quickly glance over them. If there's red flags, I'll let you know, but otherwise, full credit, check mark, thanks for doing it, love it.
Wait, do we have to do the video portion of it?
That was for the later pages.
So the
Yeah.
Word doc that was up
Submit it.
there,
Every
One
person.
person, no, just one.
I had modified that version because that was from last year, but posted the old version accidentally, but I made that hidden. So you shouldn't have been able to see it.
What are you talking about?
That will be in week 9, that second part, so you don't need to worry about that. Like the Michigan State Organization thing. Did you print it?
I printed it.
Yeah, they have the.
Yeah. I didn't realize my error until today, because I had modified that and then.
And then for the questions where like step 1 says come up with 3 questions and then step 2
Whatever you did was
is good
good.
enough. Okay.
It was, yes, I am confident.
All right.
It was the working together and brainstorming with each other, which is what I really wanted you to accomplish today, and I felt like doing that. So I am willing to answer any other questions that you may have about anything with the course. We've got 2 in-seats left. You have a chance for midterm feedback to provide to me next week. A letter to a legislator is coming up in a couple weeks. So next week is the module about healthcare policy and things of that nature. So you can feel free to ask questions on the FAQ board about that. You know what to do with your advocacy assignment, or if other questions come up, I'm happy to answer them. Once you get your feedback on your Weebly, then I would encourage you to talk to your partner about what you want to do for the occupational oppression program design, which is your final. And those are your graded assignments. So there will be learning activities in most weeks and pack back. So continue on with those. Great work. I always love signing into this class and into pack back and seeing what you're writing. It's really fulfilling as a professor, and I totally see why Dr. Summers loved this class. And your cohort, she loved your cohort. So it's just a beautiful blend.
I wanted to say that I've talked to a few other students and we all really appreciate how much you comment on our posts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It makes pack work more interesting for me. Like,
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
way more involved. Like,
Yeah.
I love Dr. Summers. She's great. But you are like on it.
We love feedback.
I'm
Let me know where we're supposed to, like.
Yeah. And hopefully I'm trying to share some examples too, or like, did you think about this, or give you some food for thought. So that's good feedback for me to know. I try to respond to everybody.
You do.
I miss you.
Yeah.
That is an
Because
oversight.
before I kind of thought it was like pointless to do pack back instead of a discussion board, to be honest. This is
But you can still do the same thing
now-
on the discussion board.
You can.
Yeah, but I
And
don't
that's
know, you make it, I see the benefit more through this class than.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I can get it.
I will stay here until
Okay,
4:30.
yes, yes, yes.
So I
It's
already
not
have
like
one
20
group
bucks.
Right.
who wants to meet with me.
Fee.
Well, I mean, it's optional for them, but I wanna meet with you.
Yeah. Okay, so I have one person in Lionel Lake. If anybody wants to talk to me about this class, the program, anything, here I am in the flesh. I'll stay here. But you have to stay in this room, so I know you want to meet with me. If you're gone, I'm leaving. Okay? So, yay! It's 4:05. We're out of here. Thank you.